Good morning, my brothers and sisters. It is July the 18th, 2020, and it's the 126th day of the virus. Officially, we're in the New Testament and read the story in Luke chapter 4 where Jesus was attempted to be thrown off a cliff by his people from his hometown. And the reason that he got thrown off the cliff, there's a secret. There's something in 2 Kings chapter 5 about Naaman from Syria, a foreign country, that causes Jesus to be attempted murdered. So let's find this. Let's look in chapter 5 of 2 Kings, and may the Lord show us what in that passage made people so angry that they tried to kill Jesus. So I'll read 2 Kings chapter 5. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and in high favor, because by him the Lord had given victory to Syria. He was a mighty man of valor, but he was a leper. So right as we start here, we find that Naaman is a commander of the army. He's a foreigner. He's from Syria, which is traditionally one of Israel's enemies. They are apparently at some sort of a truce at this moment in time. But he is a great man in Syria. And his master is the king. He hangs out with kings and generals. And he's in high favor. And he's in such high favor that this whole story happens. And we also find that he's brave, but we also find that he is impaired by leprosy. So he's powerful and successful, but he has this Achilles heel. Verse 2, now the Syrians on one of their raids had carried off a little girl from the land of Israel, and she worked in the service of Naaman's wife. So we find a little girl, slave girl, from Israel, who is a slave in Syria, and Naaman's wife is her mistress. And we find this girl being very, very faithful, even though she's in a kind of a horrible situation. And she says to her mistress, so this young, pious girl who obviously was raised right and knew of the Lord's work in her country, she says to her mistress, would that my Lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria, who's now Elijah, he would cure him of his leprosy. So Naaman went in and told his Lord. So the little chain of command goes from the little girl to the wife of Naaman, to the king. Eventually he's going to go to the king of Israel, and eventually to Elisha the prophet. And it all starts with this little girl, which is really just a great part of the story, which is part of the teaching point of humility. So Naaman went in and told his Lord, who's the king, thus and so spoke the girl from the land of Israel. And the king of Syria said, go now, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel. So he's going to act as an emissary to the country next door. This is from the northeast of Israel. And then listen to what he takes. He takes 10 talents of silver, 750 pounds of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, 150 pounds of gold, 600 years' wages is what my Bible note said about this. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read. So now he takes this, and we find out later that he takes chariots and horses as well. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, and this is a bad king of Israel. So this is King Ahab, who does evil in the sight of the Lord. He puts up Asherah poles and calls God's prophet his enemy. And he's got one of the worst wives in history, Jezebel, known for her nastiness. So that's the king of Israel. So it's not a good time for Israel at the moment. So 2 Kings 5, verse 6, and he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, when this letter reaches you, know that I have sent you Naaman, my servant, that you may cure him of his leprosy. So the king of Israel, who's not on good terms with the Lord, gets this letter and says, oh, by the way, cure this guy of leprosy, which essentially, if you're the king of Israel, you're reading as this guy is declaring war on me, because who can cure leprosy? Nobody, except for God, and we're going to get to that. So when the king of Israel reads the letter, he tore his clothes and said, am I God to kill and make alive, that this man sends word to me to cure a man of his leprosy? Only consider and see how he is seeking a quarrel with me. But when Elisha, the man of God, the true man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent to the king, saying, why have you torn your clothes? Let him come now to me, that he may know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elijah doesn't even come out. He sends a messenger out. So the guy parks an F-16 out in front of his house, chariot, horse, the highest, like a tank, military piece of equipment known to man at the time, and a plural, multiple of them. And he comes to his house and stands at the door, and Elijah doesn't even come out. He sends a messenger out. So we have this little girl in Israel telling him that there's a prophet in Israel, and then Elijah doesn't even come out, and he sends a messenger, and the messenger says, go out and wash 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean. And Naaman is furious. He says, but Naaman is angry, and he went away, saying, behold, I thought he would surely come out to me and stand and call upon the name of the Lord his God and wave his hand over the place and cure the leper. He thought this was great disrespect. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers in Damascus, better than the waters of Israel? From this stinky country, I could have done this back home. Could I have not washed them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. And that's where we're going to leave the story today, with Naaman, this great general, leaving prideful, rejecting Naaman, rejecting the prophet, rejecting the intervention and the activity of God. And fortunately, tomorrow he's going to be talked out of this. So let's keep listening, because in this story, we're going to want to kill Jesus at the end of the story because of its content. I bless you, my brothers and sisters.